hope you're ready for today's session. I'm really excited about it. Stay hydrated, right? Really, really important. Really, really important to keep hydrated, keep those water levels good. In fact, here's a little tidbit for you. Did you realize that water doesn't affect your vocal folds, doesn't get to your vocal folds for 6 to 8 hours after you drink it? A lot of people think that right before they sing, boy, if I just take a big swig of water, I'm going to be all hydrated. It's going to be great. I'm going to sing wonderful. Well, in reality, all you're doing is clearing your throat of junk. Now, that's not a bad thing to do, but really that water's not going to help your singing voice per se for 6 to 8 hours. So if you got a big concert tomorrow night, just 24 hours ahead of time, make sure you're really slugging that water, because it's got to be absorbed by your stomach and then sent to all the more important areas of your body that your body considers more important. And finally, it's going to get absorbed into those vocal folds and give you that elasticity to keep hydrated. But today, I want to give you 2 tips, 2 easy steps on how to sing like a pro. And I know that sounds a little bit dramatic, and you might think to yourself, well, that's kind of over dramatic. Maybe it is, maybe a little bit of attention grabbing there. But I think you'll see by the end of this session today that if you can grab a hold of these 2 steps, they'll lead you to the secret. The secret. La. Pretty cool, huh? All right. Well, let's get moving here. I want you to do a mental exercise with me, if you would. This mental exercise is going to be something, if you want to close your eyes for, you can do that. But I really want you to imagine with me that your voice is coming out of your mouth as a light. And I want you to just imagine what that light would look like if you were singing. So you're singing just an ah vowel. Ah. What is that light like? Think about it for a second. Take a moment. All right. Do you have a mental picture, a mental image of what your singing is like? If you were thinking in your head like, well, it's kind of like a flashlight with that light just shining out and filling every area of the room with sound, and just a wonderful warm light coming out of my mouth. Okay, that's an image that a lot of people actually would have. And if you're like most singers, that's what you're imagining, spread out all over the room like a flashlight. More sound is better, right? Stop right there. It's time to change that mental picture. Why? Well, singing like a pro, step 1 has to do with focus. Just as a focused beam of light, a laser beam, can produce enough energy to cut through steel or even perform delicate surgery, so your voice, when focused the right way, can produce a more powerful tone than a flashlight. Some people can think of it in terms of even a shotgun or a rifle. What's the difference between a shotgun and a rifle? Well, a shotgun sends tiny pellets out of that barrel, and then as they leave the barrel, they spread out as they go. Okay? You can't shoot a shotgun super far. Now, far enough, and of course they're dangerous, so be careful. All right, but a rifle, man, you can shoot a rifle so much farther than a shotgun. Why? Because it takes that one projectile and it actually spins it. It's called rifling out of the barrel, and it sends it because it's much more concentrated. All the energy is focused on sending that bullet. Well, this is the mental picture that I want you to have: a laser beam, a rifle bullet. Okay, whatever it is. And in fact, I've got a little exercise for you here. And I have a ballpoint pen here. If you have a ballpoint pen handy, you can take that ballpoint pen, and at the very end of that tip is a ball that rotates, and it gets the ink wet, right? When you're writing like this, the ink keeps coming out, keeps that ball wet, and it lays the ink down, right? So what I want you to imagine is you hold out this ballpoint pen about 12 inches out from your face. Okay, so right about here, and we're going to sing on an ah, and I want you to imagine that your sound is rolling that little tiny ball with ink on it. Concentrate your sound on that one point as focused as possible. Now, not necessarily loud, but very focused. So we'll sing on an ah. Ah, ah. Okay? As opposed to ah. Hear the difference between the two of those? One is ha, ha. It's just sending out everywhere. And the other is ah. It's very focused. That's an exercise you can do, even with scales. Ah, ah. Okay? And you focus, you think, I am putting that sound right on the end of that ballpoint pen. So try that after the session is over, or pause and try it even now. Do a few scales and try to focus. And if you have a little bit of trouble with it, do it the wrong way, what you know is the wrong way, which is unfocused, and just a spread nasty sound. Just kind of ah, right? And then focus it. Ah, ah, focus right there. I look cross-eyed when I go there. But you're focused right at the end of that pen. Okay? So that's the first step, is focus. The first concept to getting the secret is focus. And then singing like a pro, step number 2. I want to tell you, it's all about the mask. No, I don't mean Phantom of the Opera, okay? But the mask, I mean, where does a mask sit when you put it on? It sits right here, doesn't it? I mean, you can get a full face mask if you want, but you know, the Phantom of the Opera mask is kind of half, right? Masquerade balls, right? Right over here with the holes cut for the eyes. It sits right here. The mask in singing is made out of the bones in the front of your face, the skull, the skeleton, the skull. And it's all the empty places in there, the sinus cavities. All these things act as a resonance chamber, as resonance chambers, really, that focus the sound and cause it to reverberate farther. In other words, it focuses your sound like the laser beam. Now, learning to hit this sweet spot in the mask, it's called vocal placement. Vocal placement. That's placing the tone where it will create the most pleasing sound. Now, some teachers tell students to imagine the tone coming out of the top or the backs of their heads. This is common in particular deep, dark, kind of Germanic opera style, and even in some of the circles that I'm in, some of the conservative music styles, it might seem more cultured. So you'll see people doing this a lot. What are they doing? Well, a lot of people say, think of yourself as a marionette. And I used to say this myself too. Think of yourself as a marionette being suspended by a string. The problem with that and the point of that is try to get this weightless feeling in your head. But the problem with using word pictures too much is that people don't have the same mechanisms for creating those word pictures, and they might not even have the same word picture that you do. So if they don't have the same, in other words, some people think of a marionette and they instantly, their head goes back like this, and they're trying to sing out of the back of their head. And it's really dark and it's kind of all swallowed up like that. Okay, that's not singing in the mask. The mask is right here. We want forward resonance. Now, we don't want the tone going up into our heads. We want it to go forward and out. The mask acts as a reflector, launching the tone out toward the audience like a lighthouse beam. Right? All right here. That's why when we use the pen, where did I put my pen? My trusty pen. When we use this pen, we focus on it. Why? Because we're trying to focus that tone. Remember Mrs. Pike? I don't know if I told you about her yet, but because I don't necessarily record these sessions in order, but certain orders, and I go back and I update them from time to time to make sure that you have the latest versions of all these and little corrections that I make. But Mrs. Pike was my 86-year-old voice instructor. A little short lady, but just tremendous. She had tremendous skill. As she got into her 80s, she didn't sing very much anymore, but she was just a gifted teacher. She taught me to sing by feeling, not by sound. How does it feel? Because while the conditions that create sound may change, acoustics in the room, congestion, whatever it is, whether there's people in the room, whether it's a big room, small room, if you have a microphone or not, the correct feeling in the mask is something that will remain the same. So here's a couple tidbits of advice that I heard in her studio so many times. The roof of the mouth is the bottom of the tone. the roof of the mouth is the bottom of the tone. So when you are singing, la, it's all in here. It's right here in the mask. Okay? Now, that's not saying you can't use chest voice. And we'll talk about that later. In fact, if you want to do one-on-one sessions, things like that, those can be made available. And we get into that more as we step through things. It's not saying you can't use your chest resonance when you go lower. Ah, da, 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 da. There's some chest in there. But da, 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 da. I'm not creating the tone. Da, 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 da. It's not coming from my throat. It's coming up. It's all connected, and I want it to end up coming out the mask. And then the other thing she would say is sing 12 inches out from your face, and that's the ballpoint pen exercise. Those two statements give you, really in a nutshell, the key to singing through the mask. And let's see. Here's an exercise. Sing some long tones with me, and I want you to imagine that the sound is flowing through your eyes. When you're getting it right, you might even feel a slight vibration in your nose bone and eye sockets. Okay. In fact, we can do this on an I vowel, I, which in Italian is E. So E. So call it a long E. Okay. E. I feel that buzz right here. I was going to try to do these sessions without kind of distractions like drinking water, but then I thought, you know what? I want people to see what it's really like. What am I really doing? Because this training course is designed to give you my thought process on singing. Now, obviously, there's nothing new under the sun. I've learned from teachers. I've learned from experience. I've seen people do things wrong and learned from that. I've done some things wrong in the past and I've learned from that. But I'm trying to give you a feel. See, I've just got this. It's a huge bottle. In fact, it's alkaline water, which really helps in so many different ways. We won't get into that now, but keep that water handy. You'll find as you're singing and practicing singing that you'll just get dry. And where I'm recording this particular session is in Phoenix, Arizona. Talk about dry. And the air conditioning is on, which makes it worse. So anyway, don't forget the water, right? Okay, so we're going to do E. Now the next session deals with vowel formation, but for now, just put the tip of the tongue behind the bottom teeth, right there. And then the tongue raises up a little bit to give the sound of an E. E. Now don't go like this. E. Yeah, that gives you resonance, but you won't be able to take that super high, first of all. And secondly, that's nasty sound. You don't want that sound. Okay? We want that nice, good, open E. And we're looking for that frontal resonance so you can feel your nose bone vibrate. Let's do a few. Ready? E. E, up a half step. E. Do you feel it in here yet? If not, figure out that position with your mouth. E. E. 12 inches out, remember? E. E. Sorry, kind of parked there for a second. But sometimes I kind of like to do that. E. Because it helps me feel it's there. Now, another kind of little trick that you can use to make sure that you're having that forward resonance is to do it on an NG. So you could sing like Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace, right? And you feel it. My teeth are buzzing. And you just, right? You know it's kind of coming through your nose, but that's okay for the sake of exercising. Okay, we're just trying to get the feeling of the mask. Where's the mask? Singing here. Now, you ready for the secret? Here's the secret. You might find this staggering. You might find this absolutely crazy. But singing is 95% mental and only 5% physical. 95% of singing correctly, I don't even like to use that term anymore, really. It's not about singing correctly, it's singing in a healthy way. It's singing healthily. Really, that's the adverb form. Okay? Singing healthy singing. So no matter what style you're doing, whether you're doing some kind of classical, traditional style, whether it's hymns in church, whether you're into country music or whatever it might be, the basics are still the basics, and singing healthily, singing in a healthy way, is 95% how you think about it. If you think of yourself as a hammer, and man, you're going to hit those notes, well, guess what? Your voice is probably going to give out after a few years. No. Why? You're physically doing something that's harmful to your voice, but more so than that, you think of yourself as a hammer. If you think of yourself as a hammer, you see everything as a nail. So the point is to get our minds thinking about it the right way. Once we get our minds thinking about it the right way, the other things will fall more easily into place. Now, if you think I'm exaggerating, you're not alone. I thought Mrs. Pike, my teacher, was exaggerating when she made that statement to me. Singing is 95% mental. I thought, well, no, I mean, I got to think the notes, but it's physical. It uses our physical body. But it all starts here. If you can think this way, over the years, I've come to understand the power of that mental focus. I've realized she's right. She was right. Now, I've given you several mental keys here, 2 steps particularly, to help you visualize and focus your sound. Don't sing like a flashlight. Don't sing like a shotgun. Focus it like a rifle bullet, like a laser beam. Zoop. And here's some mental pictures to help you. That ballpoint pen. I'm singing right at that. Okay? You can even hold it a little bit farther out if you want. Try to sing out to it. Maybe 2 feet out from your face. You can go that far. In fact, here's a little tidbit. A little bit ahead of time, but the higher you go, more focus you should have. Yeah, we'll get to that later. Use these consistently in your practice, right? The concept of singing out, and then the roof of the mouth is the bottom of the tone. The roof of the mouth is the bottom of the tone. And I have a note here. Pro tip, if you visualize the roof of your mouth as the lowest place the sound reaches, sing by feeling, not sound. Well, hopefully these things will be a help to you, and you can kind of mess around with them a little bit, try to work them into your daily practice. And next time we're going to talk about everyone's favorite subject, vowels. Don't worry, I promise it won't be boring, and it will absolutely make you a better singer.